Hello, my name is Mark Deary and I'm a filmmaker. It's 20 years ago since I made my first feature film called Maribor ... And I'm on leave at the moment from work, like long service leave, and I'm making a documentary called Confessions of a Failed Filmmaker. And as part of that, I'm making 100 videos in 100 days. This is one of those videos. And today I thought I would talk about perfectionism. And beyond perfectionism, talk about the idea of, you know, being so specifically needing something to be perfect that it hinders you actually getting anything done. Now, I don't think this needs to be a particularly long video. I have a lot to say about perfectionism. I identified as a perfectionist pretty much my whole life, definitely my young life. But I realized after a while that it's really not a good thing. It's a really bad thing. So if you identify as a perfectionist, try not to do it. It's funny, there's that joke where people say in a job interview, like, what's your, you know, worst skill? Like, what is the thing you're worst at? And people go, oh, I'm a perfectionist. You know, like, ha ha ha, that's actually a good thing. But it's not. It's really bad. I think it's blowing my mind a lot because I'm like 12 or 13 videos in now, and I still haven't uploaded my first video. And it's frustrating. Firstly, I was getting the workflow on getting the video out. I mean, these videos have no edits. I'll talk about the format of the videos later, but there's just been issues, you know. It's like uploading to YouTube. The first video had issues, and then I had to save it, and I could have just got rid of it, but I didn't. And I made another video about that, and you know, it's still not up. When I get the first one up, it's going to be great. But you know, I say I don't identify as a perfectionist anymore, but I still absolutely have perfectionist tendencies. I really do have a standard that I want everything I do to meet or exceed, you know. And sometimes you got to just not care about that. Like, to be honest, it's probably not that important about these because nobody's ever going to see them, or so few people will see them that it won't make any difference. And for whatever reason, you still have standards. I still have standards that I feel like I need to meet, even if the only person who ever sees it is me. But I feel like there's only negative examples that come from that. Like, now you could kind of argue both ways because a lot of masterpieces in art and creativity, like creative history, I was going to say, but in creativity, there's a lot of examples where somebody was such a perfectionist, they were so precise about it, and it came out worth it. Like, we talk about Citizen Kane, you know, like considered one of the best films ever because Orson Welles, he could do whatever he wanted and he didn't get edited, which later he did, and you know, arguably his stuff didn't work out as well because he didn't have that same level of creative control or interference. Something like Jeff Buckley's album Grace, masterpiece of an album. He was such a perfectionist, did so many takes on things, was so anal about how everything was to be precise, but then unfortunately died much before he should have. And we only got one album. Whereas if he'd been a bit less of a perfectionist, we might have got 4 albums before he died, you know? And same thing with Orson Welles. Like, he could have made so many more films. And even guys like James Cameron, you know, who produces so few films because he's so, you know, specific about what he does. But I think his storytelling capabilities probably, oh, they don't exceed his technical abilities. His technical abilities are amazing, but the technical is always kind of like, eh. Whereas I would just like to see 20 more stories done by James Cameron before he dies, you know? And that's just one example. There are so many filmmakers who I wish they could make more films, but either the system stops them or perfectionism stops them, and they just have to make their film perfect. Now, another argument you can make against perfectionism is that by not being a perfectionist, by not caring, by just cranking out stuff, that you're cranking out a lot of crap. You know, that what you crank out has no meaning, it hasn't had enough thought into it, it's undercooked. And I often say this, I'll be watching movies, like I've said in another video or two, that this year I was watching a movie every day. I haven't missed a day, I've watched a movie every day this year. And so many times I watch a movie, I think, oh, it was just undercooked, they just need a bit more work, they just hadn't quite broken the story, or, you know, it kind of lulled in this section or whatever. And like, there'd be reasons for that. There's so many reasons why a film works or doesn't work. But yeah, so sometimes more time could fix something, and somebody could say, well, if you're a perfectionist, you would have fixed those things before you released this piece of content. You know, and I shouldn't say content because it's art, really. This is content. But years ago, I heard, I can't remember who said it, and I could probably, if I looked her up, I could probably find her name. But she was on a podcast, and it was a nerdy podcast, like a Mac power users was the podcast, and oh, I can't remember what her name was, unfortunately. But she was in a bunch of shows, and she talked about how she realized early on that she wasn't particularly good at anything. She was an actress. And she said that she she just made stuff because she's like, if I just make stuff. So she was on like a few podcasts and she voice acted in some animation and she acted in some web series and she acted in some shows. She's in a bunch of stuff and she's like, I'm like a shark. I just move forward and I never look back. I have no neck, so I can't look back and I just keep moving. So I just make this, just keep moving forward. And I really like that. I think being a perfectionist, it's hard for me not to look back. I'm looking back 20 years to make this documentary. And so, and it's called Confessions of a Failed Filmmaker. So I guess I'm admitting that as perfectionist as I was, it didn't make a difference. So maybe this video is more poignant than I even realized. But I've just been thinking about perfectionism a lot lately just because I still haven't uploaded a video. Even though I've uploaded 2 tests, and the first one looked terrible because I had film grain, which looked gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. But then the YouTube algorithm absolutely, obliterated it, and you couldn't actually see my mouth moving in my face because I shoot these weird long shots, which I like. Aesthetically, I think they're pretty pleasing, and the reason I did it was to save me spending hours being a perfectionist editing. I'm like, one take, I edit or I don't. If I don't, whatever, I don't have to upload it later, which I haven't uploaded any of my 13 videos so far, but they'll be up. If you're seeing this, I got them all up, so go me. I got over my need to be a perfectionist. So I do think, no matter what level you're working at, I think there's merit in both. I think being an art shark, just having a bunch of projects is good. I don't think you should work on projects and not be fully committed to them. I think that's probably another video for another day, but I think if you're working on a project and you're not fully committed to it, it's probably not going to turn out well just because you're not committed to it, And a lot of time you'll start something and not finish it. You think, oh, this worked out badly and maybe it needed more preparation. Maybe it needed more cooking time. Maybe you weren't that into it. But a lot of the time, if it's just you stopping yourself because you need it to be perfect, you need it to be better, really, if everything needed to be perfect, you would never release anything. And then what's the point of that, right? You make art to be consumed. This is the irony of me talking about this. I'm the wrong person to be talking about it because for 20 years, I made films that nobody saw because I never released them because I was too much of a perfectionist. So I have 3 finished feature films that are each like 96 minutes, an hour, 48 minutes, and 72 minutes. And well, this one has distribution in the UK and America, but it's like very few people have seen those films because, it wasn't, I guess I wasn't proud enough of them. Like, the next one will be better. The next one will be better. So here's me always looking for the next most perfect thing. And I would fully commit to these projects and make them the best I possibly could. They're as perfect as they can be, or they're the best I could make them at that time. Now I could probably improve them, but I will not let myself go back and try and fix those films. That's why I'm doing this documentary instead of remastering these old films that can never be, they might get 2% better if I re-edit them or 5% better if I re-edit them, I'm just going to make a documentary about that and then move on to the next thing. Like a shark, keep moving forwards. And I think this is the thing. I think if you're the sort of person who is working in film, but you don't release enough stuff, and this is the thing too, when I stopped making narrative films and started working in advertising corporate videos, I worked at a company and we made a certain amount of volume, but we put a lot of time in. There was always crew people, put a lot of stuff, and the budgets were high and stuff. Then when I moved back to Brisbane and I've talked about this in another video, like a small franchise, we did a lot of like low budget videos, like real estate corporates and small corporates and small businesses. And we were cranking out so many more. So it was like a quantity business. We made so much because of the quantity of videos, not because of the quality. And that taught me a good lesson because I was always like, oh, you can't do a shoot in half an hour. Like I need half a day for this. No, you don't do it in half an hour or don't do it. So do it in half an hour. And the quality difference was minimal. Like anybody watching it wouldn't know you spent half a day or half an hour on those videos. And so I could get 8 of these things done a day and I was making thousands of dollars a day instead of $1,000 in a week because we can only do 1 in a week sort of thing. So, there's merit in making things quickly, but and you build your skills, right? And me, I've done 13, 14 of these videos. 13, I think this is the 13th. And or maybe it's the 12th. This might be the 12th. I don't even know. I'm doing a few today, so I've lost count, but you'll know when you look because it'll be in a playlist. But I think really for me at this point, it's good if you start something, you get it done and you build your skills, right? And it's good if you made something, you put everything into it. But going beyond that, I think, which is what I would call being a perfectionist, like going beyond it, it's done, it's ready. Like we had another video about when we call something finished. But I think you're the person who's going to stop you getting it done. And so I could have just pressed publish on that first YouTube video, but my face was invisible. Is that being a perfectionist or is that having a minimum standard? Anyway, the second one I uploaded looks okay, and I have third one rendering as we speak, so it'll get uploaded today. But, oh man, still a perfectionist. Maybe you are too. Let me open it up now. Tell me in the comments, are you a perfectionist? In what way? How did you get over it if you got over it? How can I get over it if I need to get over it? Like I said, I don't identify as one anymore, and I think that's the big step. It is not a good thing to be a perfectionist. It's not a good thing. Most of the time, you're probably going to be too hard on yourself. Your standards are going to be too high, and it, as it is probably good enough, and good enough is probably good enough. But then at the same time, it's like, if Jaws had been good enough and they'd just not bothered with the shark, it wouldn't have been Jaws. And don't get me wrong, they creatively problem solved. Same as Jurassic Park, you know, like the stop motion animation would have been good enough, but then they found CG and it was significantly better and it made the film, you know, a masterpiece. So it's like, I'm not saying don't try your best, don't strive for greatness. But I think there's a time to be an art shark, work forward, work on a bunch of projects. Make sure you do your best on every project, but no one project is going to necessarily be the one that needs to be perfect. So you don't need to make any of them perfect. But then if you get an opportunity where you're like, this is the one, I think always try your best, but it'll be the best it can be, and that's good enough. And learning to identify what something is at the best it can be, and then stopping, that is a skill, and it's a skill worth refining and trying to improve. So I'm like talking to myself here more than you guys, and maybe you can give me advice in the comments, but I know perfectionism equals bad. I thought this was going to be a 2-minute video and it ended up being, I don't know how long it's been, but that's enough. Perfectionism, bad. So do your best. I will continue to do my best, except on things I don't really want. But see, if I don't want to do it, it's like that whole thing about it's a hell yes or a no. You know, like if you're not like, yes, I really want to do this, then don't do it. Don't do it. But if you're going to do it, commit to it, do your best, but try not to be a perfectionist. The wind's really picking up. It's trying to push me towards the camera to stop the video, so I'm going to, because that's a very strong wind and that's a lot of leaves coming in this direction. All right, good talking to you guys. I'll see you in the next video.